Can you beat Batman Arkham City without using detective mode? No, but I'm going to do the challenge anyway because that's literally the point of my channel. G'day chaps, his eye, Clownpuncher139. And it has somehow been over 8 months since I've played through Arkham City. What the hell? I need to fix that. And what better way to do that than with a challenge? Just like with Arkham Asylum before, I'm going to try to beat all of Arkham City without ever entering detective mode. But like I said in that video, if I do, it doesn't really matter. The point of this miniseries isn't to find out how many times you need to use it throughout the story, it's to make Predator sections that much harder. So, without any further delay, let's get locked up by the non-Marvel Doctor Strange and shut down his prison. Our story begins as you'd expect, with a lot of story stuff and no use for detective mode. After a basic combat section, we come to the end of our challenge, as we have to scan the bullet holes to locate the sniper. But as you all know, and as Linkin Park would say in the end, it doesn't even matter. I knew this was coming, you knew this was coming, moving on to the things that actually matter for this video to be interesting. Heading into the church, we're presented with our first Predator encounter and, surprisingly, a roadblock for this challenge. See, following the tutorial for this section actually results in a soft lock if you're doing this challenge. Once you grapple up to the gargoyle, you're completely stuck in place until you put on detective mode. No matter how much you mash, you can't leave the gargoyle until you flash detective mode. Luckily, unlike this same situation in Arkham Asylum, we actually have a workaround. We're bringing back an exploit from the no grapple challenge way back when that I only know because I've watched a lot of speedruns. Simply drop the smoke bomb and walk right up to the thugs. Hold forward and mash A while the smoke dissipates to dive over one of the thugs as soon as you gain control. Then just dive back over him while only taking a single shot from his buddy. The thugs will then go back to their intended pathing, leaving you alone to take them all down without ever having to use detective mode. I still absolutely love that I know this strategy and that it's now helped with 2 challenges. It's so cool. Too bad it doesn't help in the next room where you have to scan the sniper rifle. Again, no way around it, but also again, nobody cares! Moving on. And we move on to the steel mill, where nothing of note happens until we get to the assembly line. But it's not much of a challenge since I've done this area dozens of times at this point, so no detective necessary. Where it might be necessary is in the next room, which is our first real Predator section. But I know this area like the back of my hand, so it was absolutely no issue. I used a double takedown on these guys, strung up this guy on the gargoyle, went into the vents to take these guys down with an explosive ceiling, then got their buddy with a batarang ground takedown. However, this is as good a time as any to mention that what would normally be our saving grace in a challenge like this is now our biggest hindrance. Smoke, something normally nothing but advantageous to us, is now one of our biggest threats, because smoke bombs will instantly put us in detective mode if we enter it, the exception of course being the church before. So what this means is that we can never drop a smoke bomb if we get seen by an enemy. Thankfully, this wasn't too much of a challenge throughout the rest of the game, so now was pretty much the best time to mention it since I did have a fail in this room by accidentally using a smoke bomb when I didn't want to. After that, we get some Joker cutscenes and head over to the GCPD building for another Predator section. I would try to do the skip, but said skip requires smoke, so I can't really do it. Instead, I used my knowledge of the area to glide right next to this guy and take him down, then grappled up so I could find and get this guy. Then I just waited for this one to move away so I could drop down and use a double takedown on these two, then finish the encounter with a knockout smash on this guy. Very easy stuff. Not quite as easy is the inside, because again, the speedrun strategy I've come to use dozens of times now can only be used with smoke. So it was time to improvise, adapt, and overcome. Thankfully, that wasn't too difficult. I did some of the speedrun stuff to start, namely taking these two out with battering ground takedowns, which are actually no longer silent in this game. If you recall from last video, ground takedowns are silent in Arkham Asylum, and only in Arkham Asylum. It makes sense why they made the change, but that doesn't mean I can't complain about it after relying on it for a whole challenge. Regardless, I then threw a batarang to distract the group, allowing me to sneak up on one with a silent takedown, then get the next with a knockout smash since the final guy surrenders. Now, time to head to the museum. And nothing of note until we reach it and start the jammer arc, which doesn't provide a challenge until the second jammer. And even then, it's a simple ordeal of doing a few silent takedowns and a double ledge to get the thugs out of the way. Then we head to the third jammer in the sewers. But before we do have a small roadblock of these thugs. Again, I normally use smoke to distract them as I run down, but since smoke isn't allowed, I had to batarang them down, which was just as effective if not a little more dangerous. But that leads us to the subway and our next Predator section. I started as normal and take this guy on the walkway down silently, followed by yanking his buddy over the ledge with the back claw. Again, normally I'd throw a smoke bomb down with the 3 remaining enemies and get them all in the chaos. But since that's not possible, I had to wait patiently on the gargoyle. One of them then climbed onto the train car, so I hit him down with a fully boosted remote batarang to knock him off. Another then did the exact same thing, so I knocked him down too. This just left one, who I promptly dropped onto and took down on the ground. That's all the jammers taken care of, so let's go get Penguin. Meet the undercover cops, Gladiator Pit, Titan, Ice Skating, Shark, Sickle, Victor, Predator section, finally! Welcome to the War Room, a Predator section with a lot of hiding places not just for Batman, but for enemies as well. It didn't start off so great. Normal strats call for a double takedown on these guys, but of course their friend sees me and starts shooting. I'm able to get away, but then he starts shooting at the gargoyles. I try to shoot him with the rec gun, but the targeting is really weird, so it ends up shooting someone I can't even see below me. This does distract them long enough for me to get behind them, but when I try taking one of them down, he spots me again, so I have to knockout smash and dive over the ledge to get away. This lets one of them grab a hostage while the other 2 go off into the maze that is the side of the map. So I'll have no idea where they are while I try to save this hostage. One of them ends up standing in front of the wood panels, so I think I can get behind him for a takedown, but I'm way too slow at getting there, so completely miss him. I then say screw it and decide to go for the hostage, but as I'm dropping down, someone just so happens to come out of the room and spots me shooting me. So I have to run now and end up running into the vents. I leave by breaking through the wall, not really caring if one of them happened to be behind it, and hop in the grates. One of them actually ends up coming over, so I take him down, then knock his buddy down with batarangs and a ground takedown. This of course just leaves the hostage taker, who I of course got with the ledge takedown. That could have gone a lot better, but who cares? I got through it. After that, it's just a quick run to Penguin to punch him and fight Grundy, who is obviously unaffected by this challenge. Who is affected, however, is this ninja, who doesn't just require one use to scan her blood, but a second to scan her bandages. And the second isn't just the evidence scanner either, which I kinda consider a different version of detective mode. You actually can't advance unless you specifically enter detective mode, no matter how close you are to the bandages. But again, whatever, moving on. Following her signal is no issue, as is navigating all the sewers. That is until we reach Wonder City and our next Predator section, no way! This one normally presents the challenge of having the first jammer enemy, but since our detective vision is always jammed anyway, he doesn't provide any additional challenge. That doesn't mean the room was easy, just that the jammer guy being there didn't mean anything. Silent takedown, silent takedown, silent takedown, get shot, beat up, ground takedown, beat up, ground takedown. Think that was the last enemy, but remember there are 6 and look like an idiot. Batarang, ground takedown, save Fiona not as epically as Shrek, victory. Now for the rest of the League arc, we have absolutely no use for detective mode. Theoretically, you should use it for the Guardians if you don't know where they are, but since I've played this game 50 times, I know exactly where they are. So I could scan them all, find the entrance, Dead Parents Percent, Talia, Drug Trip, Demon Trials, Drug Trip again, beat up a 600-year-old man, take his blood, and return to the surface. On the way there, we must pass through the subway again with another Predator section. Start with speedrun strats by pulling this fool off the ledge, then grapple up to battering ground take down this other fool. This actually led to a fun interaction where the jammer guy told his buddy to leave so he could investigate the body alone. Not only is this a cool detail, but it lets me batarang and knock him down without any danger. With that, I could jump down and take out the last guy in the first wave, which just left the 2 more I needed to wait for. Bataranged one guy down, glide kicked his buddy, then knocked them both out with ground takedowns. Easy room. This of course leads to the combat encounter while exiting the subway, which was actually a hindrance for this challenge. And it's all because of one small addition. This here fire extinguisher. This thing is my worst enemy in this encounter. If a thug throws it, it's an instant reset. Thankfully, there's a way around this that doesn't mean hitting it with a batarang. If you're lucky enough to aim the rec gun at just the right thug and can shock the one about to throw the extinguisher, he'll drop it without it bursting open, meaning you can theoretically get through this without risk of it exploding. Of course, you'll need to keep a close eye on the extinguisher to make sure nobody's about to throw it, but that shouldn't be too hard. I was able to get through it, so I don't doubt you could too. This finally gets us back above ground, so it's time to save Sharp with absolutely no problems. And now we can move on to the only boss affected by this challenge, Mr. Freeze. And unfortunately, I am way too good at speedrun tech for this to be a challenge on normal. I got him with the generator, followed by the disruptor, exploding a wall, dropping from the rail above, and electrifying the floor. It was so easy I didn't even need detective mode at any point. So just for you guys, I did something special. I started a New Game Plus playthrough and played all the way to freeze just to make this fight more interesting. Don't say I never do anything for you. The fight starts with me running away like a coward so I could get behind him and silent takedown. Then I ran and patiently waited for him to round the corner so I could use the generator for hit 2. Then I did a repeat of my previous strategies by disabling his gun and using the gel wall for back-to-back hits. I then ran around this corner and threw a remote batarang to electrify the floor for hit 5. This was a bit nerve-wracking as I had to make sure he was in the pool and not getting too close to me, but I saw the heat trackers so I knew it was time to throw. After that, I grappled up to this ledge and used a drop attack after he stopped looking at me for hit 6. And now I was out of speed tech, so it was time to improvise. I ran all the way to the other side of the room and got a glide kick while he was freezing up the rails for hit 7, and ran back over there to hop in the grates. However, instead of coming to me, Freeze decided he was bored of tracking and launched the homing bullets. So to take advantage of them, I ran to the windows. They launched at me, so I knew Freeze was headed my way, but I didn't know from where, so I had to be patient and see him walking inside before making an escape. I was thinking of using the windows, but instead hopped in the grates to finally get hit 8. I ran to the small alcove over here to finally get the window takedown, but it took way longer than it should have because I was stupid and kept missing the button prompt to get him. But after a little ring around the rosy, I got him and only had 1 hit left. And this was the hardest one, as I tried to get the glass ceiling takedown, but didn't go wide enough for Freeze to enter the takedown range. He lost my trail, so I was about to use the line launcher, but was just the tiniest bit too slow and missed my window. So it was time to run again. This time I led him well under the glass ceiling and could get the final hit, winning me the battle without ever entering detective mode. I gotta admit though, still wasn't really that hard. The only scary part was avoiding him in the window area, and even then detective mode wouldn't have made much of a difference. Just goes to show how easy this boss can go if you know how to cheese it. After Freeze, we go save Vicky Vale from snipers, which provides no challenge whatsoever as I just did the speedrun tech. So time to go get the cure back from Joker, starting with the Predator section outside the steel mill. Obviously start by taking out the 2 snipers, then from this building I could pull 2 guys over the ledge with the back claw. One of the guys running to aid was alone on the walkway, so I batarang ground takedown him. Shock batarang this guy since I don't know how many are left, but I think 3. I was right, so freeze blast one of them, then beat up his buddy for 1 down and ice smash the other. Easy section, so let's go through the cooling tunnels with nothing blocking our path until, you guessed it, the next Predator section. This is usually one of the harder sections because of the large number of enemies and the mines, and since I don't have the mine disruptor, this won't be a very easy room. I start as normal with some explosive gel at the top of this ladder to remove whoever decides to climb it first. I knockout smash this guy to make someone climb up, then grapple up and blow it as soon as he does. I then batarang this guy and try to glide down to take him down, but this guy somehow sees and shoots me. I'm able to get him down, but with half of my health bar gone from a single shot. Thankfully, most of the group ends up right on this ledge, so I can drop down and backclaw 3 of them off for free. Well, I would if the ledge physics decided to work as intended. Only one of them actually fell, 1 barely moved at all, while 1 was somehow stuck standing on the ledge. At least he let me hit him down with a batarang, so I guess I got 2. And that also meant that there were only 2 left, so I used a sonic batarang on 1 and got the other with a regular batarang ground takedown. Not too bad aside from that 1 big shot towards the start. The next room with the sniper wasn't a problem, as the speedrun tech doesn't require smoke, but what does is the next room. Normally, in this room, you'd throw a smoke bomb below these guys' feet so they're distracted and you don't have to fight all the thugs. Now I had to do casual strats and pull them down, then fight their buddies. It wasn't hard, but it wasn't fast either, and that's what matters. Joker's Funhouse obviously went off without a hitch, and now it's time for Protocol 10. You'd think this wouldn't provide much challenge, and to that I say, "You are correct, sir!" But that doesn't mean it was a cakewalk either. Normally I'd be in detective mode the whole time to make sure I can find and scan helicopters. Without detective mode, it isn't hard, but it's a lot more inconvenient to find choppers, especially since they kinda blend in with the scenery. Again, not hard, but could have been easier with detective mode. Except for getting the final chopper. When I scanned the last chopper, I unfortunately got seen, and went on a mad goose chase to get away from it. At the end, I was a little scared I lost the chopper and wouldn't be able to find it again, since there's no indicator outside detective mode about which chopper is the right one. Thankfully though, I made the right choice and can move on to Wonder Tower. Nothing of note until we get back to Wonder City for yet another Predator section. I started pretty poorly by dropping down to get this sniper and completely missing his buddy right next to him, so got shot down to merely a quarter health. Yep, that's how I do the rest of this room. After barely escaping with my life, I can get this guy with a silent takedown, then go forward with my intended plan and get this sniper as well. Unfortunately, as I grappled up, someone saw me and started shooting, bringing me to only 1 HP. Thankfully, after I escape, they all start to dissipate so I can get the other sniper with no issues. I really have no idea if they can see me half the time because they keep talking like they can, but some of their dialogue doesn't mean that, so I really just don't know. So this just leaves me to keep swinging around like a madman until I get this guy with a sonic batarang. I disperse these 3 with a freeze blast and get one with an inverted takedown just out of sight of his buddy. This let me freeze the one below me and get another inverted takedown on this guy. And since I only heard one voice in both takedown instances, I knew there was only one guy left aside from the one I froze. To confirm my theory, I got him with a knockout smash and heard no voices, so went and got the final guy with an ice smash very carefully to avoid the mine. And I did it all with only 1 HP left. Now let's climb Wonder Tower and get to the hardest Predator section of the game. I of course start with a great takedown on this guy, then completely improvise the rest. I headed out to escape, and then went back in to see a large crowd forming around my handiwork. So since I couldn't use smoke on them, I just threw a sonic batarang and got one guy down. Unfortunately, they saw me as I threw it, so I had to leave the room again and grapple around outside. But I used the opportunity to head inside through the alcove and was able to grapple up to the center of the room. I bet most of you didn't even know you could get up here, but now you do. And it's actually decently useful since it provides good cover and gives a good view of the room. Unfortunately, it's not perfect, and after freezing one guy, his buddy spots and shoots me. With this distraction at least, I was able to get this guy down without Strange alerting them. But one of them still does end up seeing me as I make my escape. Thankfully, he doesn't actually shoot me, and I tried pulling him over the ledge with the back claw, but he just decided to fall on his face instead. I was able to get back up to the center and get a different guy though. With that, there are only 2 left, so I freeze one of them, then go on a wild goose chase to eventually get the other with a ground takedown. Then an ice smash is enough to finish the room. And with that, we've beaten Strange and are nearly done with this challenge. Just one more section outside the movie theater. And honestly, it was so easy I don't even need to bother explaining it. Unlike almost every other section in this game, I was actually able to do the speedrun strats to get all of them down, so there's not much to say as far as strategy. Then it's just freezing Clayface solid for a few minutes, and the challenge is won. So obviously, no, you can't beat Batman Arkham City without using detective mode. There are a few creative strategies to get around certain uses, but for the most part, it's hard-coded into the game just like Asylum. But hey, if you want to try this for yourself to give some extra difficulty to Predator sections, I can't recommend this challenge enough. I happen to know most of these sections like the back of my hand, so they weren't nearly as difficult as Asylum, but some of you would probably beg to differ. I don't know, but give it a try either way. Especially Mr. Freeze, since I made that fight look like a complete joke. Trust me, it is not if you don't know what you're doing. Regardless, that will just about do it for this video, chaps. Thanks for watching. I know I said I was going to do Asylum's challenge maps for this challenge as well, but in hindsight, that would be a pretty boring challenge. No detective mode doesn't really change the challenge aspect of the challenge maps like No Grapple did, so I won't be doing it. But hey, I'll at least still be doing Origins and Night. That means something, right? Right? Anyway, do all the YouTube stuff because I need to be able to afford rent. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later, chaps.
Sorry, Batman. Did I forget to mention my little friend down there? Meet Tiny. Who'd have thought a big fish could be so useful? Not me, that's for sure.